Good evening, folks. How are we today? No, I did that was a good kind of not very strong plea. Good evening. Hello. We are so glad to have you here with us today for our second HERStory panel. I am Michelle Johnson. I'm a faculty at Creighton. And I am here with my colleague, Dr. Gonzalez. And we wanted to start by doing a little warm-up while you're chewing. We are going to do a few things today. As we started to think about this panel, we really were focused on our different identities and really thinking about conversations that have happened in the past year around intersectionality. And with that in mind, you'll see the little post-it notes at your table. We're asking folks to think about their own identities and the roles that they play and stick them in the back there. Because we also try to work from a point of strength. We also try to think about the things that we love about our community, not in the deficit model, but really think about the values and things that are important. Sit up front, folks. So as you are going throughout the day, if you think of something you love about the community, we'd love to hear it. We did this summer and we filled it up, so we decided to fill our heart with love one more time. So, because this is Black History Month and we want folks to get into the spirit, we actually have Black History Trivia. And we've got 10 questions. And so I guess the first person who answers the question correctly gets a little prize from us for the interaction.
Okay.
So
we want them to raise their hand?
Yeah, that's whatever.
Yeah, okay. So
yes, I think we are having. So I can raise your hand.
Yeah, so if you know the answer, the first person to raise their hand, and I call upon you when you know the answer, you will win a prize. I know, right? Yeah, thrilling. Okay, question one. Are you ready? Who was the first American woman to become a self-made millionaire? Yes.
C.J. Walker, Madam C.J. Walker.
Madam C.J. Walker. Yes! Yeah. Okay, question two. Are you ready? Who went from protesting outside of the Parliament of Uganda by herself to protesting during the World Economic Forum with many others in order to spark discussion about climate justice?
And hands are on your table.
Yes, indeed. Y'all are on fire. Okay, question three. Which prominent black woman won 9 out of 10 court cases she argued in front of the Supreme Court? Yes. Try again. Which prominent black woman?
Constance.
Constance, but yes indeed. Woohoo! I don't know, I should just put this mic down and go home because you all know my answers. Who is the co-founder of the National Association of Colored Graduate Nurses? Yeah.
Mary Elise Mahoney.
Yes! Yeah, okay, I'm done. I'm going to focus. Yeah, all right. Okay. Who was the first black woman to graduate from Yale Law School? Boom.
Jane Mullen.
Jane Mullen. Yes, Yep, that's right. Yeah, no. Those of you who thought it was me. Okay. Who was the first black woman to compete at Wimbledon?
At Wimbledon.
Yes.
Ian Gibson.
Okay, yeah. Okay.
Right here.
Bring that prize with me. Okay. Who was the first African American woman in space? Yes, what?
Mae Jemison.
Yes, indeed. Okay. Who was a prominent figure in leading the Stonewall riots? Yes.
Marsha P. Johnson.
Yes, indeed. Marsha P. Johnson. There she is. Right. Okay, 2 more questions, 2 more prizes. Who, speaking of prizes, was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize in 2004 for her work with the Green Belt movement? Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Okay, focusing on conservation and women's rights. Yes.
Oh gosh, okay.
Oh gosh, okay.
Wangari? Wangari?
Yeah,
Okay.
Wangari.
Mathai?
Bye.
Okay.
Yes. Woohoo! All right, last question. Okay, so pay close attention. Last prize. What novelist primarily examined the black female experience in her novels? Yes. Toni Morrison. That's right. Yes. Give yourselves a round of applause. That was awesome.
Yes, I'm hiding. So, before we begin our panel, a few things that we'd like to say. One, welcome again, and there's popcorn on the table, there's snacks in the room, keep going, back and forth if you need them. We are recording this, so don't get too loose. So yeah, for our students who are online, folks who are not able to make it today, we're recording the panel, so we have that. So if you have a question for our panelists and you don't want to be on camera, just write it down and flag me down and I can read it for you. But also if you have a question, please wait for the mic. And thinking about folks who have different abilities in the room, we want to make sure that everyone can hear. It's a justice issue. So don't just say, I can speak loud enough. We want to use the mic. But again, I'm LaShawn Johnson. I'm here at the Creighton University at Highlander space. And here we're really working hard to partner with community members around all kinds of events that get a chance for us to highlight what's really great about our community, but also help community members see the power that's inside of them. So Kathy and I have talked a little bit about a quote we saw recently where the person said, I'm gonna butcher it, we have to stop thinking about I'm empowering you, but I'm seeing the power that's already in you. And so we're working really hard with our events to make sure that we acknowledge and see and remind someone about how powerful they really are. And that's the goal of this panel. We want to let folks know a little bit about our Black Girl Magic. And, but also, this partnership has really highlighted how powerful we are when we work together. And when I say we, I'm talking about our partners that have graciously provided our food for today. So I want to introduce Dina, who's also a Creighton alum. So yay! How we got here, and then we'll start with the panel.
Perfect. Thank you all for coming. As Dr. Johnson said, actually, she was my professor here at Creighton. My name is Dina Vachirovich, and I am a Creighton alum, but I'm also with Leadership Africa Summit. I'm a Director of Partnership and Sponsorship. And so I will actually tell you a little bit about the event in the beginning, and I will tell you about the inception of HERStory, and I will also tell you about intersectionality. So this is actually, this is our 3rd annual Leadership Africa Summit, and it is really an event about diversity and inclusion. It's not diversity and inclusion on paper. It's a diversity and inclusion on what we do in our workspaces, what we do in our communities, is diversity and inclusion in action, right? So we really aim to empower and educate people, specifically young professionals, but the event itself is really aiming to highlight the successes of African and African American community members. So this year, the event is going to actually take place at Metropolitan Community College, 4th Street campus on April 25th. And we will actually have discussions about preventive health, mental health, entrepreneurship, leadership, money management. I think those are topics of relevance to all of us, right? So I really do welcome you to come. And Marco, actually the founder of the summit, is here. So he had graciously, if you are interested, he had graciously agreed to give discounts on tickets to people that are currently here. If you're interested, you can email Dr. Johnson, or you can email me directly at dina@afsummit.com, and we can go from there. So speaking of that, speaking of this event, of this wonderful panel here, so we actually started this event last year. Last year we partnered with the Malcolm X Foundation, and what we really wanted to do is we wanted to create a platform for women in which they are able to share their personal and professional stories. We wanted to highlight their success, right? So this is our second HERStory panel, and I'm really looking forward to the discussion on intersectionality. So before I actually hand the mic over to Janique, I will actually go ahead and tell you a little bit about how this started, intersectionality started. So Dr. Kimberly Crenshaw, she introduced the theory of intersectionality, and that is the idea that when it comes to thinking about how inequalities persist, categories like gender, race, and class are best understood as overlapping and mutually constitutive rather than isolated and distinct. The dictionary actually describes the intersectionality as the complex, cumulative way in which the effects of multiple forms of discrimination, such as racism, sexism, and classism, combine, overlap, or intersect, especially in the experiences of marginalized individuals or groups. So with that, welcome all, and thank you for being here today. And I will take it, I will hand the mic over to Janique, okay? Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Like Dina said, I'm Janique Hayes. I'm an admin coordinator at Creighton University. And this is our lovely lady panelists. So I will just hand the mic. You guys can just go all the way down and just do introductions. And while you're at it, maybe say 3 or 4 of the identities that you have.
So hello again, everyone. I'm Dr. Kathy Gonzalez. I'm an assistant professor in the Negotiation and Conflict Resolution program in the Department of Interdisciplinary Studies in Creighton's graduate school. In thinking about my identities, I came up with like about 16. And yes, I'm just got to be an extra. But as I was preparing for today, I kind of focused on just probably about half of them because identity is fluid and some parts of you are prominent at different times. So for instance, I moved to the US, I moved to Omaha about 3.5 years ago, and black became prominent because I come from a majority black country where being black is not a thing. So I was always black, but when I came to America, it assumed very different meaning from what it means And I struggled with that. That was hard for me. Another part was immigrant, because that's very political. It may have been in the past that immigrant was welcome to America. What do you have to offer? You know, but now immigrant can sometimes be something very, very different. And depending on the space that you're in, it might be something very dangerous. Woman, Trinidad, that's a great place by me. Teacher, because that's what I see myself as professionally. If I was to distill all my years of learning and my journeys, my experiences, that's what I would call myself. An adventurer. Yeah.
Good evening. My name is Dr. Sarah Singletary Walker. I am an associate professor of management in the Highlander College of Business at Creighton University. I was born in the USA, all that good stuff, but I moved from Houston, Texas last year, and the same thing was true for me. I've always known I'm black, but now I realize other people know I'm black too. So like, oh really, I am? But it's also race has become salient to me, more so than it ever has been at any point in time in my life, and that's, as an adult, that's something that I find really interesting, that I'm just kind of grappling with, kind of the salience of race and what that actually means, and you know, because I have multiple identities. So I'm not going to name all of them, but I will give you about 3. So I'm a mother, I'm an academician, and I'm an ally. So most of my work in the research realm deals with diversity, discrimination, inclusion in the workplace. And I'm very passionate about that for a variety of marginalized groups. So race being one of the things that I study, but I also study pregnancy, you know, for like pregnant mothers or working mothers in the workplace, what are their experiences like. I also study LGBT related issues in the workplace with acquiring talent and promotability within the workspace. I also study disability. So that's, and weight being, you know, something that where it's not a protected class, but there's a lot of discrimination that's based upon an individual's weight. So like not just what they look like, what their race is, but you know, whether they're heavy or small, and what that, and the implications that has for someone in the workplace, whether or not they're hired, promoted, and mobile. Okay.
Hi, my name is Balkisa Muhammad, and my identities, well, black is definitely one of them, and I honestly just realized that recently. Back home, I come from Niger, Africa. Back home, you don't think of it. You know you're African, but it's never been a noun, right? And I attended an international school back there. So it's always been, oh, he's Russian, or he's French, or he's German. But moving back here, I don't hear that. All I hear is black, he's Hispanic, he's Caucasian. Those are the 3 that I hear. So all the country names have disappeared. So it's something that really came to my attention very recently. And even living here, for some reason, I was a bit blind to it. I've been here 13 years. I was a bit blind to it while I was going to school. I was very busy with kids, family, I went to school, come back home. It wasn't really until I started going further in my career that I started noticing that and really kind of feeling the wall. I worked at a bank for 5 years, customer service, frontline, and things started becoming obvious there. So that is definitely one of my identities that I do proudly own now. I am a mother as well, I think I mentioned that. I am a woman in IT, I'm a woman in finance, and I'm a Muslim. So that is a big part of that too. I think it speaks loud. So, and all these really, I mean, we mentioned we're going to go deeper into intersectionality, but you don't leave all these identities at once. Like it was mentioned, one of them is going to be prominent in places. But for me, really juggling those was through developing that self-awareness of where my comfort zones were, based on those identities, the places that I found myself, the people I interacted with, the values that really emerged around me, and the ones that I felt more comfortable towards them, I just started kind of intaking them and kind of building that wholeness to combine those. So it's a journey, so I'm looking forward to the conversation here.
Good evening, I'm Siobhan Washington-Krause. I'm the Culture and Inclusion Manager for Children's Hospital and Medical Center. And I almost remember all the ones I wrote down. I will start though with, since we're having this interesting conversation, I have always known that I'm Black because I have lived in the Midwest. So I have known that I'm Black in the sense of institutionalized and systemic racism that exists so prominently here as opposed to the outward racism that you may experience more in the South and other areas. What I have been learning more is becoming more aware of is how I navigate my Blackness around different situations and how I have to navigate my Blackness because I live in the Midwest. I am also a wife. I am a mother of biracial children, which has become far more difficult in these times than I think it probably was maybe 10 years ago. And I am an advocate and an ally. I am a performer. I'm a theater and sci-fi nerd. And I think that's pretty much me.
Hello, my name is Tamika Bradley. I am the Senior Program Manager. Hi, I see familiar faces. Senior Program Manager for the Financial Hope Collaborative at Creighton University. I have multiple identities as well as a Gemini. My best friend said, well, which one are you going to present? So, but I definitely agree. I grew up in the South, and even though Omaha is home for me, but navigating my Blackness in different ways depending on where I'm at in the United States. My identities that I actually put on the flyer there was Christian. My Christianity is something that's very important to me. I am a daughter, I am an advocate, and I'm the only child. So my sisters are my friends, and they are the people that help to rule my world, help me to navigate in the life that I live. So that's very important to me as well.
Thank you all. So when you're thinking about juggling all of your identities, what word or quote or philosophy inspires you and why?
My word is alignment. I came across that word a couple of years ago when I lived in California. I read this book about successful businesses. And the author's main thesis was that businesses are successful and survive when they are aligned. So when their mission aligns with how they treat their employees, with the quality of their product, with how they reach out to their customer. And I thought to myself, that's something you can apply to yourself. So that's been my word since then. Bringing all my identities into alignment is aspirational. It's what I go toward. But it helps me to keep myself whole, to keep myself centered. It helps give direction to how I live my life, because all my identities share my values. And it makes it easier for me to navigate different ones when they attain prominence at different times. If I stick close to what are the values that tie me together. So when I'm perceived as a black woman in America, how do I carry myself as opposed to how I'm perceived by my students as a teacher? So that word is really my compass. Yeah.
I have a hard time saying no to things. So, like, whenever people ask me to do something, I'm like, yeah, sure. I will do that. I can be a part of that. I want to go along. And so I often end up with just too much to do. So, you know, I have a fourth grader. I mentioned earlier, I'm an academician. I have classes. I've got research I've got to do. I've got service related to work. I've got things outside of work that I want to do. So there's a scripture that I like, Philippians 4:13. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And so I often will call on that scripture because I said yes to something I should have said no to. But that was my own doing.
So I think I kind of have briefly touched on that. The quote that inspires me, honestly, it's when there is a will, there is a way. So first, when I started hitting the walls and the opposite currents at the bank, I made the decision I can fight this system because I started feeling like it's a personal insecurity. And I mean, any Muslim in America, I think, has that insecurity. And especially wearing the headpiece. So I started thinking that, well, I'm not getting these promotions because this is how I dress, or because I have this accent. So, you know, I had the choice to either fight that or take a path where I can still be all that and still be successful. My aim was not really the promotion. My aim was to grow personally, to grow in my career, of course make more money. So I made a decision to change company. So I looked for another job, I joined a different company. I thought working in back-end operations would help me do that because nobody has to see me, right? And I mean, you can judge that, but I made that switch and I mean, it worked great for me. So I think sometimes we don't have to prove anything to anyone as long as we believe in ourselves and we trust really what makes us unique and what makes us strong. We take that path and we will succeed in it and we will reach our aims. So when there is a will, there is a way, right? If you want to do something, you will find a way to achieve it.
So I forewarned you all that I'm a bit of a nerd. When I saw this question, oddly, I struggled, and oddly, the very first thing that popped into my head was a line from the 1990s Robin Hood movie with Kevin Costner and Morgan Freeman. And there's this whole conversation that Morgan Freeman's character is having with this little girl, and I don't remember all of it, but she comes up to him and she's like, "Did God paint you?" And he's like, "Did God paint me?" And she's like, "Yes, did God paint you?" And he gives an answer, and she's talking about his skin color because she'd never seen anybody who looked like him. And he says something, and he segues into, well, Allah loves variety. And that's always just popped in my head. So for me, it would be God because I follow a Christian belief system. But I went through so much of my life until just probably, I'd say, the recent last maybe 5-6 years, thinking I had to be this one thing, and that one thing was often a title. And so when I was in school, I was a sprinter. I was a thespian, I was a forward, all of those things. And I graduated, and I was an exercise science major. And I was a personal trainer, and I was an athletic trainer, and then I started my career, and I was a health educator, and then as I got older and older, I started struggling, and when I would hit glass ceilings, I was like, sometimes they're there, that's the reality because of who I am in our systems, but sometimes the glass ceilings are actually put in place because of me, because I had this notion of putting myself as just one thing. And I think that's why I always think of that line, Allah loves variety, because I get farther when I stop worrying about the one title and think about all the variety that is in me, and recognizing, pulling them all together, putting to sleep some that might not, I can't always be a nerd and be goofy. Sometimes I need a evening. I can, yeah. It's like sometimes Colonel Washington has to come out. April knows what I'm talking about. And other times the nerd can be there. But I don't have to choose one or the other exclusively. And so, variety. Embrace variety.
Philippians is definitely my go-to. And I think with that comes out of just keep pushing. It's something that I continue to tell myself. Just keep dancing. It's one of my favorite hobbies is to dance. And if you can just keep moving, sometimes you just have to push your way through it in order to be able to get past it so that you can get through the darkness to get to the light. Am I holding this?
Not getting out of it twice.
Right, we're going this way. So how do you educate or model for others how they can begin to embrace their identities and understand how powerful they are? I'm starting with you.
Just being my authentic self. I try to bring my whole self to work to every day. And that is a daughter, that is a child of God, that is an advocate. And just, the teaching that I do comes not only from my family, but the lessons that I learned in nursing school, to try to advocate for others, to try to prevent versus, if you can learn from my mistakes, if you can learn from my experience, rather than having to go through that. How much can I save you in learning so that you can be a better person? Because heartache, strife, all of that can be, looked past. You can work your way through it in a different way. You don't have to go through the muck. I tell my ladies all the time, I don't want to be in the hole with you, but I'm going to support you the best way that I can. That may be giving you some water in the hole, giving you an affirmation and continuing to talk to you, but it's cold in the hole, and I don't like bugs, and it's down there, but we gonna work our way through it, and sometimes you can't get out of that. You have to just wade your way through it. And so what supports can you put in place in order to allow yourself to make sure that when you have to stay in that hole, that you can survive it?
I would say the same. Being my authentic self is what I try to do the most, and also being vulnerable in front of others. When I interviewed for the position I currently have, I was feeling extremely insecure and I know I was recommended, but oh my gosh, can I really do this? And one of the big decisions I made was, if I'm going to leave a place I've been for 13 years and have all sorts of social capital and just knowing and knowledge and connections, they're gonna hire me. And so I went into that interview and I was 100% myself. They saw the goofy side, they saw the, oh yeah, straight on side, they saw everything in between. They got to hear I speak bluntly. I also speak very caring, and I lead with people. And I think that's part of how I got the job, which is good. Also, when I show up, whether I show up personally or I'm showing up professionally or that mixture right in between, I'm willing to be vulnerable. And I have told people before, I'm not all here today. I'm carrying too much right now. I've got some stuff going on at home, and I can't focus. And the energy that is released from me having to hide that helps. And I think people appreciate it, and it opens opportunities for other people. to do that. Like, we're people. Stop with all these titles and all this that we're perfect junk. It doesn't get us anywhere. So being authentic, being vulnerable, and just being willing to stand up and own it, even if you're inside like, oh God, I don't know if I should say this about myself. Just do it, because sometimes it empowers other people too. I think they said it all.
Honestly. So all I can do is really related to my experience. So I mentioned the career move that I made, right? And I am working now at Creighton Corporation as a business analyst. I started in the account payables department. So now looking back, I really don't think that my success was because, oh, nobody sees me, that's why now I'm getting these promotions. Of course not, because the manager is still looking at me, right? And they're not like me. So I just learned to really accept the value that I add to the team and really own it and say it. So that has been the biggest wall that I had to overcome. Owning my qualities and claiming them when needed. So, and that comes with authenticity. It is part of being authentic. Another thing I wanted to add on authenticity, really, when you are authentic, there is an inner peace that comes with it, and you feel like you're released of the burden to meet social expectations. So when you have that peace, when you behave in a way, you put yourself in situations where you're living within that peace, you're speaking within that peace, you're interacting with people, giving them the true you, with all your flaws. I mean, Tina and Marco know me here, and they can probably testify to that. Imperfect as you're gonna be, just be that. And through that, that's how you're gonna shine. And the people who are able to see it, or the places who are able to accept it, that is where you belong. So,
I'm just gonna co-sign on everything that they said. Yeah, the one thing that I think I can add that really dovetails into what they've talked about thus far is, like for people to reach their potential, I think you just have to compete, right? So many times you can't win if you don't compete. So, so that deals with kind of being vulnerable and then kind of knowing what you want to compete in. But, just try. Like, if you don't step up and try and compete, then you can't win. So I would just encourage everyone to not think that no one's better than you are. Even if somebody knows more, or even if you think someone might know more than you know, that don't stop from, applying to that job you don't think that you're qualified to do, or saying, oh, I don't know if people should see me because they might be biased against me. No, compete anyway. And, the more that you compete, the more chances you have to win. So that's all I can add to the wonderful things they've said thus far. Close this out, Kat.
Yeah, no pressure there. Having multiple identities is really hard work. And you're not going to show up as your best self every day. You're going to be very tempted sometimes to reject or to try to suppress an aspect of yourself, because it's hard to turn a mirror on yourself and accept all the parts of yourself. But you have to do that work. And it's a constant struggle. I don't know if I'm gonna, reach a magic age and say, yep, I'm done. I've got it all figured out. Because every time you think you do, something new and exciting happens that makes you realize that you haven't. So, I was walking along the streets of Port of Spain in August 2016, and then September 2016, I was in Omaha, and I was like, oh, look, I'm black, okay. So that began new work on a new aspect of myself. So you just have to keep going. You have to keep going and learning self-love, becoming self-aware, sometimes you don't want to, you kind of like, yeah, popcorn and movies today because I can't. But, and hey, by all means, enjoy popcorn and movies. But the next day, you have to get back on there and you have to continue that work of recognizing and accepting and dealing with and aligning and just moving forward. Just moving forward. That's been my experience. It sucks sometimes, but on the occasions that something does click or something does fall in place, it's just so great that you're like, okay, bring it on, I can do this again. And they're like, no, not like that, but yeah, so, yeah.
You're from the Caribbean, you can talk loud like that.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Can I throw one more thing real quick? Going back to Siobhan.
One more thing I just thought of that we've all said but not said, the word is be consistent. And so consistency is huge, but don't mistake consistency for meaning be the same every single day. I mean, be consistent in your authenticity in that even if that one part of you needs to sleep for the day, you still show up as you. You know, I can't always be the fighter. Sometimes I'm too tired to be the fighter, but that's where all my other identities come in. So I'm consistently me in some way or another in addition to being authentic.
Amen to that. So have you ever encountered discrimination or microaggressions based on your identities, and then how did you deal with those situations or that experience?
There are two that I get a lot. One is, you speak English so well. Like, yeah, that's funny. Yeah. Because I guess the assumption, yeah, I have it as host. I guess the assumption is, if I come from the Caribbean, especially when I describe that Trinidad and Tobago is off the coast of Venezuela, that for some reason the expectation is that I would not speak English. But that irritates me. And I use it as a time to teach. It's like, well, you know, the history lesson. Trinidad and Tobago was a British colony. You know, owned by the British, the Dutch, Spanish, the French, back to the British for how many years. So this is it, blah, blah, blah. This is it. So that's how I deal with that. The other one is a little bit more difficult. So it's you look so much more attractive if you permed your hair. So the first time I got that was from somebody I considered a friend. You know, because of course I was like, hey man, all these men, I don't know what's going on here. You know, they're like, yeah, you know, you're such a great girl. You look so much more attractive if you perm your hair. And I didn't know what to say in that moment. And I'm that person, you know, you see in the movies where it's kind of like I'm so flummoxed that I just, you know, my brain just slows right down, like I can't think. And then after, when they're gone, you know, it all comes out. You know, like, yeah, I should have said, I could have said, yeah. So that's what happened. But I think it was just that I was so hurt that I was paralyzed. I just didn't know what to say. What do you say to that? It's like, okay. Oh, and since that time, other people haven't said it as explicitly, but it's always kind of hinted at. You know, well, maybe you could do something with your hair. I'm like, what? You know, and then everybody gets quiet because nobody wants to say anything else after. It's like, what? So that's what I do now. And I say, well, what in that kind of, you know, effing kind of voice. You know? So nobody comes back. And I still don't think that that's the right response. But there's just so much rage when I hear that I don't think I want to give voice to the rage. Because I would just go off. And I was that person who used to go off and, conflict resolution and so on and so forth. Got a whole PhD in that, so you think I know better. And it really is a work in progress. Because I want to respond better, but it's still a place of rage. So yeah, I'm feeling that every time. But those are
So I've experienced microaggressions with respect to my age. So when I started my previous, I was in another institution for 11 years before I moved to Creighton. And people would say, like, I had another coworker and she and I were about the same age, and they would say, "You girls." And it was it was really interesting because the people who would say it, I couldn't say something about their age back to them, like implying, but I just thought, well, why is it okay? Like this other person, you want to call them Dr. So-and-so, but where are you girls, or I've had students who don't want to call me doctor. I've had students call me Sarah, and I'm like, why do you call me Sarah? And I'm like, that's your name. I'm like, I'm not your friend. You can call me Dr. Walker, Professor Walker. Those are a few things that are very acceptable, but we're in my place of employment, and so that's how you should address me. I don't care how old you think I am, I'm still your professor. So things that are like age-related have happened to me more than things that are related to, and I think that's because it's combined with gender. If I was a younger man, that they wouldn't say you boys, it's just because it's the combination of age and gender that I think is problematic. But the other microaggression I experienced after I got to Omaha, where that Solange song, "Don't Touch My Hair," that's real, y'all. like I had somebody touch my hair, and that had never happened before, and I was like, she really wrote that song? It was like, no, y'all, don't touch my hair. But I just thought that, that's my personal space. My hair, I'm me, you can't touch me, I'm not a petting zoo, we just, it's just not inappropriate. So I just think, and so my response was also not good in the moment. It wasn't, the rage didn't show, the rage was inside, it wasn't external at all. But, I just thought that, well, I feel like I get comments on it. It's like you're an anomaly of some sort, so I gotta say something about your hair, whatever you're wearing, or this or that, and it's exhausting. And I'm not good in the moment. I wish I were better in the moment, and I don't feel like educating people because I'm that's not part of my job. Well, I get paid to educate students who have enrolled in my course, but it's just. I don't have the right answer, so I'll just rage on the inside. You all pray for me that it doesn't come outside. Yeah.
So I do have two stories for you. My first job was on a phone. It was an outbound call. I forgot what we say it. And it is my first job, right? English was not my language. I learned English in high school, and then came here, intensive English for 3 months, and I thought I could work. So I got this job on phones, and first week out of training, I made this call trying to sell, I'm not gonna say the product because you don't know which company it is. So trying to sell whatever it was, and the reaction of the person on the other line was, "Oh, wait. What's your name?" "My name is Balkisa, calling from XYZ. "Where are you calling from again?" "From Omaha, Nebraska." No. Where are you from? You have an accent." "I am from Omaha, Nebraska." No. These 411 from Nigeria, and the person started calling Nigeria, Africa, accents, frauds, scams, and they got very mad on the phone, like very upset. They wouldn't let me put any word, shh. It was intense. So I couldn't finish that phone call. Honestly, it was very, traumatic. So I stayed silent until he hung up, customer service sake. And as soon as he hung up, I went outside for a while just to get some air, cried it out. When I came back, the quality assurance team was listening to the call. So they called me in, and we spoke with my supervisor and the team. And one of their recommendations was, well, you speak French, right? Well, what if you said you were from France? What if you said your name was Kisa? Do you have a nickname? So that was it. It took me a few days to digest, really process what happened. Am I going to allow this? Am I going to take this? And I quit by the end of the week. I couldn't last. So my first job lasted like 3 weeks. 2 weeks of training and the first week of the job. And I took a break, and after that I gathered my courage and went to the bank. So yeah. I had another one. I guess my mind just went blank on the same story. Gosh. Yeah. Still get emotional when I think about that phone call, but wow, yeah, I forgot what the second story was.
So, mine's a story, get comfortable. My most impactful situation that I endured was actually with my in-laws. I am married to a white man who is from this area. His whole family, for the most part, is from this area. And it was like, I think probably like 4 years ago or so, I honestly don't remember, and we're all out celebrating Christmas. And I'm sitting at a table with some nieces and extended family, and one of the nieces is dating a man now that is half white, half black, and she's just telling a story about she's a little intimidated by his side of the family, and through the conversation I realized the side of the family is the black side. I'm like, oh, okay. Not really thinking much of anything she's saying. I'm like, it makes sense. And then one of the other extended family members says something about, oh, well, they must like fried chicken. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna let that slide because she did just say that this person is from Louisiana. So maybe this is an ignorant connection to Popeyes. Deep down I know that's stupid. But I was like, okay, this is not happening because I'm sitting at the table. And then there was another comment, I don't even remember what that one was, but by the time we leave dinner, I'm like, I'm gonna choke these people. And I can't choke them because not only am I the only black person at the table, I have to enjoy the rest of the night with these people. So I'm in the car and with my husband and family, and my husband wasn't at the table, so he didn't know this happened. And we're in the car, and he's like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "I'm good. We'll talk about it later, but you need to check." And I named the family member's name. And he's like, "Why?" And I was like, "Oh, we'll talk about it later." So then the evening continues on. I've gotten over this. I'm like, I don't have to choke anybody. It's fine. And then we're all sitting around, and one of the cousins, again, my husband is just coincidentally not in the room. One of the other cousins, a different one, says to the cousin who first sparked all of these microaggressions that I'm trying to play off. And he says, "Hey, you go to Burke, right?" And she's like, "Yeah." And he says, "Hey, does it still smell funny?" Because apparently there's weird, schools have different weird smells. And she says, "Well, I don't know. They let in a whole bunch of black kids, so now it just smells ghetto." And I was standing, her back was to me, and I reflexively whoop up the back of her head. And just looked at her, shook my head, turned around, looked at her one more time, did it again, and turned to my youngest, who was like 3 or 4, probably actually like 2 or 3 at the time, because he needed something to distract me. But red zone, I don't know what happened, because then all of a sudden my husband was standing by my side and he's like, hey Siobhan, it's time to go. And I'm like, okay, good. Now, he doesn't know, again, what happened. But I have to spend more time with these people. And I mean, everybody saw me smack this child in the back of the head. And when I say child, I mean 17-year-old, so she should know better. And then we get to the family, the immediate family's house, to continue the celebration. And we walk in the bottom, and I'm the first one in, and Adam's still, he's like, what is going on? And I don't want to tell him because I know he's going to be pissed. I don't want to ruin Christmas. So now I'm carrying the burden of their freaking ignorance. But I'm like, this is what mom's got to do. You got to pull up your big girl pants and continue on for your kids and my husband, and I'm going to get through this. I walk in the bottom of the house, and I overhear, and I do always acknowledge I overhear this, but I'm pretty sure I'm not stupid. I hear her dad say, what? Why would you ever say something like that? To which I hear my mother-in-law say, well, she's just got to learn to love us for who we are. And I'm like, okay, I'm eavesdropping, it's possible, I don't know. So I have to endure these people, and I do meet these people at this time, for another hour, and have to sit in their presence. And not only are these ignorant white people, these are my freaking family members. I don't care if I'm married into it or not, and that makes it worse. You know, like Sarah said, y'all don't pay me for this shit. There's people who pay me to deal with what I'm dealing with right now. So then finally the next day comes, I cried. I told Adam, I was like, we gotta hurry and get to my family's side. I need to see my parents. I need to see my family. He's like, what is going on? So it's Christmas morning, and I finally tell him what happened, and he's actually even more pissed off than I thought he would be. I mean, he was like red-faced and everything. And so I just told him, I was like, look, this is mine to deal with. I'm not telling you how to handle your family, but I'm telling you, I can't be around them. They're not safe. And so I had my bad reaction where I hit somebody else's child. My mom always said you can't hit other people's children. I had my, I don't know what you call it, but the minority tax of having to deal with that crap for the rest of the evening. And then I had the conversation with my husband, who stepped up and did intervene and told his family, don't talk to her, don't call her, don't text her. When she's ready to talk to you people, she will talk to you. And then I had actually coached him to be like, okay, when birthdays and stuff come, we need to take our kids, because that's our grandparents. So then I went back into the big girl role again. But to this day, I have never received an apology. He did. And so now it's gone on so long where I never stepped up and said anything. It's this gap. And I know it's only felt on my side. So I went through kind of all the sides that we can do of it. I let out the rage. I suppressed the rage. I educated. And now I'm just dealing. And I love these people, but when I say they're my family, there's always that pause I just did. Because what do they really think about me?
So I'm traumatized.
It's all right here.
I feel all that, and oh my gosh, I'm so sorry that you got to do that. Yep, mine went completely blank. I have nothing. I have the delayed reaction where you're like, did that just happen? And then you're like, I shoulda, and I shoulda, but you know you shouldn't have. But I have not found a good way to deal with it. My undergrad years at Creighton were very traumatic for me. I had to deal with a lot of racism. It was hard enough being in professional school when the rest of my friends were in, just undergrad and trying to get the credits, and you're already pushed into it, and then you also are dealing with people who are judging you and the isms are coming out, and you know, I've been raised to be professional. You also respect your elders. And so what am I supposed to do when my professors are saying things in class and or directly to me? And you're like, you feel alone. You feel unsupported. You don't know what to do with it. And it took me, to this day, and I've always said this, I will never change my experience because I know that it helped me to be who I am today. But it took me a very long time for me to be proud to be a graduate of Creighton. It took me a very long time to be able to be like, yeah, I went to Creighton, blah, blah, blah. But just like we're talking about, you know, the differences between growing up in North Carolina and being in school and with family versus being in Omaha are day and night when it comes to Blackness. And it's so profound and in my face. You know, I every day I know I'm Black, you know, but I'm so much more than just a Black woman. But it's hard to get past that when, you know, people don't let you. So.
Thank you. So if you were to give your younger self a word or words of advice about navigating the world, what would it be?
Run for your life. Oh. I am definitely a better person than I was when I was younger. I tell my friends all the time, you know, we are where we need to be in our lives. I have friends that are teachers, that they are teachers for a reason, and I am not. Because a slap behind the head. Yes, I don't know that I have good words for my younger self. Just truly to keep dancing, to keep moving forward. To know that there is hope, to know that there are allies and friends and people that I will encounter along the way that smile at me in the audience, those who actually see me and actually advocate for me, because I am an advocate and I am an advocate daily. I am a daughter daily, and that comes with a lot, not just the work that I do within the community. But just, you know, the finding hope and holding on to hope probably is the biggest thing that I would tell my younger self.
I'm all sorts of emotional now, so I actually got more sleep. I would say to my younger self, you are enough as you are. I just was so, I mean, not that I'm not now, but I was just so really insecure just being all the things that I was. I always thought I had to be something better, and it's not like my parents told me that. So that's what I would say. It's just, it's okay being all that you are. You're enough. That's how God made you.
Advice to my younger self. Well, before I start that, actually, I remembered my second story. I was taking a math class, and one of the kids, he was in an advanced level. He's a high school kid, and he was taking this class with me. It was a calculus class, and right before class, he asked me, well, we're also, you know, people see you, you're different, they always ask you where you're from, and they want to know more. And this kid asked me, so really, how do you sleep on the tree without falling? I was like, did I just hear that? Well, like, I don't know, how would you? So, you know, they show like, and he mentioned Tarzan. I was like, I think we should watch the movie maybe, because I don't know. So that moment really stood with me, and I think more than the call center experience, because I was like, whoever sleeps on the tree, I didn't even know. So is there a culture out there in the world? Possibly, but anyway, so I had a nonprofit back home. We run a school in rural Niger. And one of our mission really is to bridge that gap between the advanced educative world and education world. And, rural Africa where people build schools and that's it. But if we're really saying that we're doing educational equity and we are putting kids on the same level of success, they need the same equipment. They need those computers, they need those science labs, they need all that to be able to say they are really learning the same way, and therefore we hope they will compete the same way on the job markets later on. So I thought that bringing the global perspective in that kind of area was as important as also bringing the perspective here in the US. And it's really that kid, my conversation with that kid coming back to my head. So we decided to develop a summer camp program through the nonprofit, and the kids explore different cultures every day of the week. We started last year. So, that's kind of what I did to address that, because I was like, well, some things you can address it with your reaction, but some things you just can't. I just don't want to hear another kid asking those kind of questions. So, yeah. An advice I would give to my younger self, I don't know, I just go with the flow, and I look for where can I be me and still deliver what I'm looking to deliver. That is really how I navigate, the world, my relationships. So I would say just be yourself, be authentic. It comes down to it. I really don't know. Last time I was, we were talking with my sister, and I was complaining that I wish really our parents gave us a manual of this is how you deal with people socially. But she was like, well, I don't think that's normal. This is something you learn by yourself. I'm like, no, somebody should tell me how to. But it is what it is.
I would tell my younger self to enjoy the moment. So, I feel like college, it was like, oh, I can't wait to graduate because all these things are going to happen at grad school. I can't wait until, I'm done with my dissertation or I get my first job or I get tenure, this or that. But I've learned now that life doesn't get any easier. The challenges will be different, but there's still challenges. You're supposed to learn and grow and just enjoy where you are, because there's something special and beautiful about where you are, and you should enjoy it, because once that's gone, you'll be doing something else then. So just enjoy that process. So don't rush it. So I would say enjoy the moment.
I would tell my younger self, as you navigate all your identities, do not be afraid. Don't be afraid to change. Don't be afraid to be still. Don't be afraid to move forward. Don't be afraid to stop. Don't be afraid to let go. Don't be afraid to hold on. Just don't be afraid.
Sorry. So, I think we could open it up for maybe a couple of questions if we have any in the audience. Been told to wait. Oh, one in the back.
A question. For Siobhan, you said it's harder now to have a biracial family than it was 10 years ago, and I didn't understand why.
Oh, oh, where'd she go?
Yeah, so I specifically picked 10 years ago because my oldest son turned 10 this year. but do I just talk too close to the thing? But, and some of y'all might not like what I'm gonna say, but I'm up here so I can say it. Part of it is because of who's in the White House right now. I think the presence of a person who is like that, representing our country in the highest, most powerful office in our country, has allowed more and more hate talk to come out. It has created an environment where I have to navigate my blackness more, and I have to navigate white fragility even more than I already had to. And so since I have biracial children, there's this constant, again, unintentional, but where I have to help my children understand the black side of everything. And then I'm potentially countered with the, yeah, but whatever soft side that comes down to let's soften what the white side of this was. So if I'm talking about, oh my God, I really hate how people have just whitewashed Martin Luther King Jr. I'll have a conversation. Oh, thanks for telling me about that. I'll have a conversation about that with my son because he's fascinated by him. And I'll be like, well, you need to understand this. And then my husband will add in some extra, yeah, but, I mean, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, would you stop with your yeah, buts? Because there isn't a yeah, but. Because the yeah, but actually is, I haven't told the whole truth because he's not even 10 years old yet. So I have to constantly navigate that. And he in particular actually looks white, my oldest. And so he has to fight both sides about whether or not he's black. And then that ends up also coming up on me, which is not my fight, but then I'm like, so by you trying to say he's not black just because his skin is white, you're insulting my son, and you're actually also insulting me. And what do you think it actually means to be black or be white? That's just his skin tone. So that's what I mean. I think it's probably always been hard because there's always been two worlds. I think that right now what's going on is there's a different level of acceptable hate within this country. And the issue with white fragility is becoming a little bit dicier and more uncomfortable than I think it has been before. So that's what I meant.
Thank you. As I was listening to your stories, and some of them heartwarming, obviously very emotional for you. Even earlier today, we had a panel over at the Dr. Biswit had, and our students shared experiences not unlike what you were describing. And I find myself just thinking, as I listen to you say, I mean, the rage you feel inside, at times what you go through, what is said to you. But one of the things that I've heard as you spoke is this kind of refrain about faith. And a number of you mentioned specific gospel texts, and I was very struck by that in terms of resources that, help. So I just wondered if you'd be willing to say anything about in what way, we're quoting scripture, obviously those are your duty, certain words, but if you could, I'm struck by the fact that faith seems to be a resource in your dealing with what you have to deal
with? So I was raised in a Baptist church. And so, you go to church every Sunday, that was what was expected of me. When I started college, however, I was in college. And, you're learning, you're trying to be a better person, you're trying to learn the ways of the world, and I lost my faith. I think it's the one. I lost, my way when it came to my faith. I had stopped praying, I had stopped journaling, I wasn't going to church regularly, but eventually, when I found myself dealing with such heartache in life, I turned back to my faith, because that was my foundation. And that's where my peace is, that's where my hope comes from, my strength comes from, And in order to, every morning I wake up and I do, when they saw the body check, is everything okay? Do I really have to go to work today? But my initial thought is, thank you, Lord, for this day. I don't know what it's gonna be like, but thank you for this day. Because I know in the good and in the bad, I learn. I know in the good and in the bad, I grow. Does it feel good all the time? No, not at all. But I know without God, I know without scriptures and that I lean on, I wouldn't be here today. I've dealt with suicide in my past, having thoughts of. I've dealt with depression in my past, and the things that you deal with in your life, if you don't have some type of foundation, if you don't have some type of strength, some type of coping skill, then they can overcome you. And so my faith is the foundation of that.
I think for me, the first answer that popped in my head was just the church has been a foundation for Black folks in this country for a long time, I think to the point that we don't even think about it. And I'm not a church goer. I don't like rules and all of that. So my church is all around me. Another weird thing from Robin Hood. I don't know what's going on in that movie. But that wasn't even great. But I too have had times where I know God has saved me. I have heard the Holy Spirit. I have felt the Holy Spirit intervene and say, rest now, and save my life. Because I too had a situation where I was considering suicide. And the words that I heard in my head were not words I speak. And that's why I'm still here today. And I think I haven't had to lean on my faith so much related to my Blackness as just that I am just now finally understanding that I am a woman who has been navigating the past 10 plus years of her life with undiagnosed bipolar 2 disorder. I had no idea. And that is what I have had to lean on most is help me. Something's wrong, I don't know, I need your help. And just knowing I have that conversation, and that conversation can be however it is, because God's like, yeah, I got you. That wasn't appropriate the way that you just spoke to me now, honey, but it's all right. And that's what I've just done, leaned on that to help my strength, especially when it's almost gone.
I will just add a word to that. Though I am not Christian, but I think faith has the same role, no matter really what your religion is. And it's really knowing that there is that superpower that is there for you. I will call it what it is. I am ambitious, and I put my all out there. But yet, I know that there is so much more that something more powerful than me takes care of to align some things for me and allow me to show that best. So, I mean, when I came here, I came right after high school. I was not that rooted in my faith. I was not wearing my job. I wouldn't look, I didn't look the same. So, as things got harder, and of course with responsibility, I mean, now you're out of your parents' home, right? You're navigating the world. And I got married very early too, at 18, and social responsibility, I mean, it really takes you back there to relying on something more powerful than yourself to just help you pull through. So, and a funny way that I usually put it is, I tell God that, well, God, I'm gonna do what you like so you can be there for me. So.
I don't know that I have anything unique to add. Do you want to add?
Hello. So I don't think say to this group, I'm so grateful that you're all here with us today, that you have gone on with this journey with us. I'm really grateful to Janique because I volunteered her to do this, and she didn't. I'm really grateful for our panel. And so the friend sent me this picture. It says, you are created to make somebody's life better. Somebody needs what you have. Your smile, your love, your words, and your encouragement. It means so much to us here in the room that you're all here for us. And so I just want to say thank you. Thank you to all. I want to say at your table, we want to be thankful to our sponsors so if you're still interested in participating in the summit, make sure that you check this out. Also, Creighton University at Highlander does lots of fun things all the time. We have a puppy cuddle coming up. I had a volunteer event, so that's on the table if you'd like. Also, I want us to give a round of applause to and if you haven't already, make sure with the Post-it notes you tell us what you love about the community back here. And also if you want to tell us about your identities that you have, that you think about, also on the wall, we're going to stick those up. Any other things? Otherwise, yeah? Sure.
So, hi. So, let me just stand here so everybody can. I really actually just want to say, over here, so I'm not in the way. I really want to say thank you to Dr. Johnson and Creighton University for partnering with us to really have this event, and I really, really want to say thank you to all of you for being so vulnerable. Our intern back there, she made these great things that are on the table with the women.